Hi everyone. This week we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what gut bacteria do. Our microbiome plays so many roles in the body that I sometimes wonder if we're actually human or are we just housing for bacteria? It turns out these little guys run pretty much everything in the body, from developing and running our immune system to digesting our foods. As I started writing about this, I realized I couldn't tell about everything or talk about everything our gut bacteria do for our health without it being a long, boring talk. So I summarized it in a few slides, and I hope you can stay awake for it. So let's talk about a few things that these little guys can do for us. They provide non-immunological protection against infections. So just like the immune system can fight off infections, so can these little guys. This is helpful with things like yeast infections or candida or C. difficile. They provide capability to alter the microbiome population. Of course, if you have enough of the good guys, the not so good bacteria won't have a chance to grow out of control. This helps with things like irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bowel disease, obesity, actually all sorts of stuff. You pick a disease, diabetes, heart disease, it doesn't matter what it is. A good microbiome generally means good health. They stimulate maturation and balancing of the immune system at birth. This plays a role in things like allergies. They regulate and prime the immune system throughout life. This helps us fight infections, helps to avoid autoimmune disease, and it helps to fight inflammation. They facilitate a wide variety of metabolic functions in the body, like the heart, the lungs, or your metabolism. The gut bacteria help to detoxify things like mercury toxicity. This is a good thing because we can't always control what's in our foods. They're essential for gut to brain function. To get to the root cause of illness, we must look at the body as a whole. Everything is connected. It turns out if your gut is sick, it causes other parts of your body to be sick also. For example, the gut is constantly communicating with the brain, so if it doesn't feel good, the symptoms may develop as depression, anxiety, or other brain issues. The bacteria also produces things like the neurotransmitter serotonin, which reduces anxiety. They lower cholesterol and the risk of cardiovascular disease. Bacteria may also help with weight loss. Studies on mice have shown that an obese mouse has a very different bacterial composition than a thin mouse. By switching the bacteria in the mice, the obese mouse becomes thin and the thin mouse becomes obese. When you eat a diet of whole foods, you feed the good bacteria that support weight loss, and when you eat the standard American diet of high carbs and low fat foods, you feed the bacteria that help weight gain. Once these bacteria have grown, they ask to be fed constantly, and you will crave the foods they like. If you have an abundance of good bacteria, you will crave the right foods. Just remember that it may not be you that's having the craving. It could very well be your gut bacteria. The research on gut bacteria is very young. The scientists are not only researching what good bacteria do, but also what bad bacteria do. So far, they have a number of links to how specific bad bacteria lead to specific health issues. Like they see more of a specific type of bad bacteria in people with multiple sclerosis, for example. Same with diabetes, Parkinson's, cancer, lupus, you name it. They're also looking at the amount of good strains of bacteria. It's not just having too much of the bad, but also not having enough of the good bacteria. Most of the disease information they have so far is from studies of bacteria in the large intestine. These studies are young, and what they have is comparison from people to people. That doesn't determine what you personally need. That makes it a little bit more difficult. The complexity of the gut bacteria and its role with our health is probably the most difficult to understand right now. There's just too many strains and combinations and possibilities. So from our perspective, we're going to focus more on how to support the gut, which is much simpler to understand. So we'll focus on how you get rid of bad bacteria or yeast and feed the residential good bacteria. We'll learn how to use probiotics to help with different health issues and how to use supplements and foods to strengthen the GI tract function. This is where we're going to go because this is what we can do now. And we can't wait until they have perfect answers for everything. They may never have all the answers, but supporting the gut is our best plan of action. So now that you know it's important to change your gut bacteria for better health and weight loss, let's start by choosing one of these 3 foods on this slide here and eating a minimum of 1 tablespoon a day. If you start with too much, you will feel bloated, so start small. When buying these, you have to make sure they come from the refrigerated area of the store. If it's on a shelf at room temperature, it doesn't contain bacteria. You're now starting your journey to better gut bacteria and better health. Good luck, choose to be happy, and I'll see you next week.